I really swear being a creative is a curse sometimes. Having a long list of things that you want to make and seemingly not enough time to make any of them. One thing about me, friend, one thing about me is I love a good handmade fit. Honestly, I feel like my best looks, some of my best outfits incorporated a handmade element. And so I have, like a million and one things that I would love to make to add to my wardrobe one day. It feels like these days I don't have enough time to do them, but that doesn't stop me, of course, from making the list nonetheless. And so I'm going to share them with you, and maybe they inspire your handmade wardrobe. I would absolutely love to knit a hoodie. If I were to knit one, I would probably use this pattern. I found it on Ravelry. The designer uses stripes in the design, and I think that's kind of cute. I don't think I would make my hoodie one solid color. I feel like knitting a garment that big, I'd probably get bored after a while. But I love the idea of just like my basics, things that I wear every single day, being something that I've made. Traditionally, my handmade pieces are like statement pieces, things that I use on top of my basics. But I love the idea of hand making basics. And so a hoodie, a jacket, something that I would wear like every single day. I like the idea of that being something that I've knit. I'm trying to think like what color would I want to knit my hoodie? The designer used a green and a brown. Obviously, I'd want to use a color that matches most of the outfits that I wear. The first thing that comes to my mind is like maybe a light gray and a dark gray, or like a light gray and a black, or like a light brown and a dark brown. I also really like this hoodie. I feel like this hoodie that I found is maybe not necessarily what I think about when I think of an everyday traditional basic hoodie, but I do love the shape of it. If I were to make this specific style, I think I'd make the head opening just a little bit bigger and maybe make, like the sleeves more fitted. I just really love the idea of having a knit that I wear every single day, and I wear my jacket every day. So I feel like a hoodie would be nice. It's not the same thing as a cardigan. I have knit a cardigan before, but I feel like a cardigan is like a little more formal. A hoodie is casual. It's something that I would wear with jeans. It's something that I would wear with sweats. I think a long sleeve dress would be so tea. I've wanted to knit a dress actually for a minute. My main hesitation is the fact that it's like a bigger project, and friend, I get knitting fatigue. But then also it's like I'd have to do a decent amount of math to get, the measurements perfect for my body. The thing is though, I don't know if I would make it a short dress or like a midi dress. I guess I'd have to knit it and then see, like try it on and then see how I feel about it. But a long sleeve dress would be so cute. I'm not the most familiar with yarn fibers. Like in my mind, I'm thinking if I wanted to knit a long sleeve dress for the summertime, it would have to be in a breathable material like cotton or linen. Friend, would that work? If I made a long sleeve dress for the summertime, but I knit it in like a DK cotton or linen, would that work? Would that make the dress too heavy? My dress would be off the shoulder though. That's the thing. Maybe I'd make it midi. If my shoulders are out, it would probably be a midi dress, but I'm thinking in like cream, even the same color as what I'm wearing right now, or a red, maybe even like an emerald green. Those are the colors that come to my mind. I think an emerald green long sleeve off the shoulder dress would be so cute. And then I could wear like sandals or Vans. I have had these colorwork sweaters saved as inspiration for literally the longest time. Mary Maxim, I've found, is like a popular vintage designer that makes, a lot of these similar motifs and designs. Mine though, I don't know, like what would I put on it? The first thing that comes to mind is some type of like cowboy, Wild West, old Western motifs. I saw this pattern. It looks like it's for a jumper, and it has the colorwork chart for a cowboy and a lasso on a horse. I think this is so cute. It's slightly different than my cardigan. I would want maybe like big colorwork on the back, like the cowboy lasso on the back, and then maybe something on the front panels. I'm not really sure what. Maybe something relevant to the design. I don't know if a horse is too on the nose. And then like some letters on the sleeves. I feel like if I'm ever able to execute that, that's gonna be like one of my favorite things in the world. This is one of the things that like I know I would absolutely love it once I finished it and I committed to the project from start to finish, but a cardigan with color work actually feels really intimidating. I also like the idea of like a varsity style color work cardigan. So like the motif on the back and then the sleeves being different colors to kind of emulate a varsity jacket. I found this one right here from Hysteric. And so maybe something like this. On the back though, would I still keep my cowboy motif? Or maybe something like really badass, like a tiger, I don't know, a motif on the back and then letters on the arms. I think that would be really cute. I feel like I could be in my most bum fit and then I put on this cardigan and immediately look elevated. I will say though, in my inspiration pictures, I'm not the biggest fan of like the folded over collar. And so if I were to make it, I'd probably make, you know, just like a simple ribbed, maybe make the neck just a little bit higher. What colors would I use? I'm thinking, I don't want to say like black and gray and brown for every single thing. I like the idea of making the cardigan like one solid color and then the color work being a contrasting color and then just use two colors. But then also I feel like maybe if I were to do a varsity style, I would want to use more colors. I don't know, friend, something neutral. Blue, maybe? Maybe I would use like a navy blue, some variation of red, maybe yellow. Did I just name all the primary colors? I said no gray. But hear me out, friend. What about like a gray and a navy blue? I think that would actually be really cute. A matching scarf, beanie, hand warmer set would actually be so tea. My idea would be to use like a variegated yarn for all three of them, like the same color, so that it looks like they're a part of a set. Again, I would want it to match the clothes that I have. So I'm thinking like maybe a green. I probably would use Malabrigo's Rios just because that is my favorite variegated yarn. I feel like even just like the cohesiveness of the scarf and the beanie and the hand warmers would make, you know, like a simple outfit look more elevated. I feel like also as somebody who wears a lot of neutrals, having just my accessories be the pop of color would be a cute look, and that'd be a way for me to, you know, like incorporate more color into my wardrobe, be just a little bit more adventurous with my style choices in a way that feels comfortable for me. Also, I could like mix and match. Like I wouldn't have to wear the beanie, the scarf, and the hand warmers all together. Like I could just wear the beanie and the scarf, or the beanie and the hand warmers, the scarf and the hand warmers. So that's an idea that I've had actually for a long time. I'm kind of just thinking of like a winter accessory bundle, if that makes sense. I'm not traditionally a V-neck girl, I'm not, but the plunge neck, V-neck, wide butterfly sleeve style I think is actually really cute. This is my dilemma, friend. I feel like so many styles that I see that I love, I'm like, okay, this would be perfect for the summertime, but I know it can be tricky trying to wear your knits in the summertime. Most likely I would make this in like a DK. What's the yarn that's underneath the DK? Like a thinner weight yarn, just because I would want it to be, like I would want the drape to be flowy. Ooh, when I think of the colors I'd like to use on a top like this, the first thing that comes to my mind is like a grape, a deep purple, or even like a mustard yellow, some type of dark yellow color. I feel like I'm saying we can pair everything with jeans, but like low-key you could pair everything with the jeans, but like jeans and maybe a statement belt and a boot and like a bag that matches. Friend, are you getting the vision? I feel like that would be so cute. Actually, how cute are these boots? I saw these and I was like, wait, I want to make myself a pair. I'm looking everywhere online for a pattern and I haven't been able to find a pattern. Friend, let me know if that was an oversight on my part, but looking at the design, it doesn't look too difficult. You'd need something for the sole of the shoe, and then also I feel like if you find just some type of crochet shoe pattern, you could use that as a reference. I feel like what makes this specific boot like really cool is the different textures of the yarn, the different colors of the yarn. I do have my Sari silk yarn that I've been so desperately trying to use. Maybe I would use something like this and then just like other colors and textures that complement it. But I don't know. I love these boots. I think they look different and I would wear them most likely as house shoes, but who says we can't look cute in the house? Ever since I figured out filet crochet, I feel unstoppable. A filet crochet yoke for like a blouse or a baby doll top or like a dress. I don't know what design I'd put on my yoke though. That's the thing. Maybe like wallows, some type of, I don't know. Would I use birds? I do like the idea of just keeping it classic and doing like flowers or roses. I feel like that kind of adds to like the daintiness of filet crochet and then adding, you know, some type of flowy drapey fabric. I feel like the obvious color to make a filet crochet yoke dress would be white. My version would most likely be white. But if I didn't use white, I like the idea of like a baby blue. I think filet crochet kind of already looks like dainty and soft, and so I would want to use like a light color, a soft color, baby blue, maybe even like a baby yellow. I feel like even a black could work. But I like the idea of a baby blue filet crochet yoke dress. Baby blue filet crochet yoke dress. Baby blue filet crochet yoke dress. Say that 10 times. Okay, a must need in my wardrobe, a must need, something that low-key I kind of want to make for this summer is like a matching set. So I've saved a bunch of different images. I think maybe a couple of my reference images are knit, but I like the idea of crocheting a set. I've seen a lot of different versions of crochet sets, and so I feel like there's a lot of ways that I could execute it. There's a lot of ways that I could get creative with it. In my head though, I kind of want to make like some type of halter top and then matching pants. Similar to the beanie and the scarf and the hand warmer idea, I feel like making maybe like multiple bottoms so that I could just switch them out in the set would be cute. So maybe like pants and then a skirt, and then I could wear them, you know, both with the top. I could switch them out. I think that's really cute. I would love to make something like this in like an orange, or even like, what's the name of the color? Like a terracotta-ish color, or a color similar to the yarn that I used for my weekend tote. Some type of warm tone for sure. I think something like this to wear in the summer would be perfect. This could be like a casual day outfit. I feel like with some accessories, with some jewelry, it could be a really cute like nighttime outfit too. I think out of everything on the list, this is something that I might actually make just because, you know, like, friend, it's literally 7 o'clock right now. It's 7 o'clock at night right now, and it's bright outside. It is bright AF. Like, we are about to be outside. And so I feel like this would be like a really cute outfit to wear, you know, to summer festivities. I would love to make a granny square like jacket, granny square cardigan. First of all, granny square hate will not be tolerated around here. The granny square is one of my favorite things to crochet. It's like the first thing that I learned to crochet, and I feel like there's so many different ways to use the granny square. If you think the granny square is not stylish, it's because you don't know how to style your granny squares. I think on my version though, I wouldn't make it fully crochet. I kind of like the idea of like the body being the granny squares, and then maybe knit the sleeves, and then for the bottom, like the ribbing, knit that as well as the collar. So just the body would be a granny square. I also feel like the drape might be a little bit better too. Is that why people don't like granny squares? I can understand that. I feel like especially if you're using like a weight 4 yarn, the granny squares can kind of be dense. And so when you're making a garment, you know, like you don't want your garment to be stiff. But I like the idea of just using granny squares for the bottom, and then like the sleeves and the ribbing being knit. Honestly, if I were to make this, I like the idea of like the sleeves, the ribbing, the main color to be like a solid neutral, like maybe black or white, and then the actual squares have all of the colors. So like a black cardigan, but the granny squares are like scrap yarn or whatever colors that I have. I feel like even making the cardigan in one solid color would be cute. If I were to do that though, the granny squares wouldn't be just like the traditional granny design. I'd probably do a more fancier square. I've heard a couple of other people say this, but when I think of summer, I think of crochet. When I think of cold weather, fall, winter, I think of knitting. And so a cardigan that uses both, in my mind, feels like it would just be, you know, like a really good transitional piece. Okay, low-key, I know I mentioned this like every 3 videos, but I want to make a poncho so bad. Friend, I want to make a poncho so bad. And originally I was going to knit a poncho. I was looking for a knit pattern, and I couldn't find a pattern that I like. But after doing some research, I have like kind of figured out the shape, and so I feel like I could knit, like freehand knit a poncho if I wanted to. But I feel like the really cool designed ponchos are crochet, and so I'd love to crochet a poncho. I think I would have crocheted one by now. My only hesitation is that, you know, like I haven't read through very many crochet patterns, and I haven't been like actively crocheting in the last couple of years, and so the patterns that I see, the ones that I want to make, they feel just a little bit overwhelming. But I feel like even a simple mesh crochet poncho would be really cute. And I recently figured out how to make mesh in crochet. I feel like you could wear this over your swimsuit. I feel like you could wear this over like, what's it called? A tube top, a bandeau top. I feel like at this point, I keep mentioning ponchos and I'm like, girl, just make one. This pattern right here though, the clover pattern, is probably my favorite of all of the crochet poncho patterns that I've seen. The designer uses this beautiful green as the promotional photo. I'd love to have a poncho in this green color. If I were to make like a mesh poncho, I most likely would wear that with my swimsuit. And so I'm thinking like, my swimsuit's really colorful. What colors would I would make? If I wasn't so indecisive about my color choices, low-key, I feel like I would have already made a poncho. I knew I was built different when I asked my mom for a sewing machine for my 12th birthday. I will say sewing is not, I think out of all of the fiber arts mediums, sewing is not my strongest area. Some of the ideas I have under the sewing section are not even sewing. Sewing is the umbrella term, the one that I felt like made the most sense. These grunge hats, these distressed upcycle hats with hardware on them, they're so good. They're too good. They're literally too good. I actually bought a camo hat in hopes of doing this project, but then I ended up loving the hat so much, you know, like I'm kind of scared to mess it up. I feel like a statement piece like this would elevate an outfit immediately, like literally just a white tee and some pants. And I feel like if you put this hat on, you already would look more like dressed up. I'm traditionally not a hat girl, but I'm dying to have a hat like this so bad. Also, there's like so many different ways that I could customize this hat. I've seen people use, you know, just like the traditional grommets and studs. I've seen feathers. I've seen lighter caps. I've seen vintage bullets. I feel like the possibilities are endless, and also to me the hat just looks really cool. I absolutely need a pair of patchwork pants in my wardrobe. I've seen versions where people like just get a pair of pants and then just sew patches on it, and then I've also seen versions where people make the pants from scratch and like combine different fabrics. I think personally I would like to just make my pair of pants from scratch and use different fabrics. I've never sewn a pair of pants. My sewing skills are kind of limited, but there's something in my mind that makes me feel like I could make patchwork pants. The first thing that comes to my mind is doing like a monochromatic type of patchwork pants. So maybe like bandana fabric, a flannel fabric, just different types of printed fabrics, but all within the same color family. Blue is the main color that's coming to my mind. I'm thinking like a blue bandana fabric, a blue flannel fabric, like a blue stripe fabric, kind of just to emulate that feeling of blue jeans with a drawstring, like a wide leg patchwork pant with a drawstring. This pair that I found right here on Pinterest was my main inspo. Honestly, I want to make pants like exactly like this. Even if they're not patchwork, I want to add handmade pants to my wardrobe just because the pants in the store like never fit me properly. I feel like pants are made for like tall people. That's what I think I love the most about hand making clothes, hand making the things that you're gonna wear, is that you can tailor them very specifically to you. Ooh, this kind of reminds me of high school when me and my sister would like cut and tie dye all of our clothes. But bleach dye is something that I've actually wanted to do for a long time. I'm surprised that I haven't done it. But the idea is you just take, yeah, I don't know what bleach dye is. Do I have to explain it? You just take a shirt, you take your item, your clothing item, and then you draw the design in bleach. And if I'm not mistaken, you put it out in the sun. I think my first introduction to bleach dye was probably like some type of sun design. I know we've all seen the skeleton on a long sleeve. I don't know what I would do. Maybe some type of spiral. I think that would be an easy design to execute. I feel like that's something I could just throw on to like work out or just hang out in the house. And that's like a way to make a really simple piece look, I'm trying not to say elevated. Low-key, I've said elevated like 500 times. What's a synonym for elevated? Make your outfit look like more raised, high, lofty, lift, no. Sublime. Okay, friend, for the next video, I'm gonna think of another adjective other than elevated, but for the sake of this video, I feel like a bleach tee would be like a way to kind of like elevate your basic look. Also, depending on like what color shirt you use, the bleach is gonna come out differently, and like I kind of like that. I think a bleach design on a tee that's not black, like maybe like a red or a blue. I used to love tie-dye when I was in high school. I think I tie-dyed all my clothes. But like bleach dye is like the cooler older sister. I've seen these bags all over and I would love to have one. This lace market bag type beat. I've seen a lot of people make these out of like recycled curtains. I think nearly every bag that I've seen of this style has been white. I'm not sure if I would be able to find a fabric like this in a color other than like white, beige, but hypothetically if I could, I feel like this in a cobalt would be really like beautiful. I don't think I would carry this like as my everyday purse, but definitely, you know, just to take with me to the farmer's market when I just need a really quick bag. I feel like there's so many different ways I could execute this as well. I've seen bags with like ruffles on the side. I've seen bags with, you know, just the simple market bag shape. Next time I'm thrifting, if I see this kind of fabric, I might buy it and just try it out. It doesn't look too difficult. It's just, you know, making almost like a tote bag shape. I feel like you could even make a tote bag. A tote bag, a market bag, what's the difference? Imagine going to the grocery store and you're carrying your oranges and just like this really cute lace vintage upcycled bag. Main character AF. Last thing on my list, and actually my favorite, is an overall dress. I actually thrifted a pair of overalls to turn into a dress and film a video. I just haven't gotten around to it, but my main inspiration is Molly from Uptown Girls. I loved her dress as a kid, and even now as an adult, I think it's like one of the cutest pieces ever. I feel like this is very me. I feel like adding my own, you know, like patches and like different decorations to the dress to make it fit my style would be so cute. I did upcycle a pair of jeans to a skirt a couple of years ago, and so that's why I'm kind of thinking of doing, you know, the similar concept, same idea, but just with overalls. I love the look of like regular basic overalls. I've just never been able to find a pair that fit me right. And so I think turning overalls into an overall dress would be a good way for me, you know, to participate in the overall style and have a garment that fits me just right. And then also I think figuring out the design and the patches and like the different things that I would sew to the front of it, that would be really fun. I feel like the length of her dress is perfect too. Like a midi overall dress. That'd be really cute, right? Since I was a kid, I've always loved clothes. I've always loved fashion, but for such a long time, I felt like I couldn't participate in it because of my outward appearance. And so finding out that I can make my own clothes that fit me specifically, that look the best on me, that were literally made for me, is really reassuring. And let me know, is anything on my list inspiring to you? Would you make any of these things? Do you like making your own clothes? Do you feel like you look better in the clothes that you make for yourself? Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.